Isaac Sarason was a skilled hacker employed by British Telecom-Sprint. Isaac Sarason was a fool. When his health failed, instead of dealing with the problem, he ran. In his wake, he left bodies and ruined lives. Until finally, his problems overtook him in the form of the mysterious Firmware project. Now, it is months later. The scions of Isaac have become a people whose numbers challenge the stars of the sky. It is into this world of the city we now turn, a world of 1,000 experiences, 1,000,000 wonders. All one needs to do is to cross the street and head down an alley, and there will be another world. Colbyjack.net is proud to present Firmware Keylogger, the third installment in the Firmware Pentology by Colbytrax. That's me. Hello from the 313. It has been an insane week since I last talked to you. I mean, in the last week, G, my wife, has gone on a trip to Omaha for business, has had a job interview with a major auto manufacturer. We have driven 800 miles plus round trip to the 920 for a class reunion. She has flown out the day after we arrived back home to go to North Carolina for work. She'll be back here in about 2 hours. And she'll be leaving again Sunday night. So it has been a crazy period. I mean, I'm like staying home, working, and I gotta take care of the dogs. And, you know, dogs don't seem like they're a big deal to take care of. Oh, you let them out, you let them in, you let them out, you let them in. And it works out kind of nice that I work nights because they're sleepy when I'm working. So I don't have to worry about them getting rambunctious and tearing stuff up and being crazy. You know, and to be honest, they actually act kind of put out when I come home to let them out on lunch because I only live like 6-7 minutes if I get no lights from here to my work or from my work to here. So yeah, it all works out nicely, but they always act like I kind of like, oh, I can't get up. Why are you here? Why are you making us go outside to use the bathroom, etc. But so it's been working out. The only problem is during the day, they want to go outside at 11:30 a.m. They want to return back in sometime after, let's say, noon 30 to 1:30 p.m. And they want to get up and do stuff about 4:30 in the afternoon. So I get off work at 6. Oh, sorry. My replacement comes in at 6. I get off at 7. At 7, I return home. I let the dogs out. I mess around for about an hour, hour and a half in order to give them time to be active, do things, do their dog stuff. And lately they've been kind of depressed because there's been no Gwen. Because while we were adventuring off into the wilds of the 920, they were at a kennel where they had to play with lots of other dogs, and Ella got snarky and didn't get to play with as many dogs, and Morgan was like the dog whisperer and talked to all the dogs, but they didn't really like that. You know, they were more happy when they got home, but then G left immediately upon returning home. So they're kind of like, yeah, can we have boring everybody home time? That's where I'm sitting. I need to get this recorded in the can and ready to go so that when G arrives home, because she got this wonderful... Okay, she was supposed to not arrive here till after I had gotten off work. But because of bad weather in Newark, the United Airlines person at the ticket counter actually put her on a Delta Airlines flight, which will fly directly into the Big D, into the 313 at the Detroit Wayne Airport. And she'll be getting home about 7:30 in the airport, so she'll get here about 8:30. So yeah, it'll be great. I actually get to see her before I go to work, which is awesome. Of course, it's also I get to eat lunch at work instead of traveling, so I got to get my little lunch boxy packed and all that stuff. But yeah, that's new. You guys didn't come here to listen to this anyway. So anyway, I think we got to go back to find out how domestic life agrees with the entities of the V-City. I mean, we seem to have a hint that there was some kind of relationship developing between members of the cast. So, this is the fourth of 5 episodes of 01-11-10 with our upward falling Ike as he visits with his friend Ishmael in a little piece we like to call Episode 74 of Firmware Keylogger. Ishmael began talking, explaining how there were tiers to the work. How, even in the distant past, before the city, before the feds, before Nippon and Britannia, before all that, there had been those who made a living doing the work. There had always been those who were without skill, without money, without respect, and there had been those who had. Just as there were haves and have-nots in every profession and neighborhood, there had always been those who had been given a pittance for their labors, or killed if the client wanted that, and there were those who became, for lack of a better word, pillars of their communities. He went on for hours on the history of his new profession, though to me the time ran past faster than I cared to admit. There was something about Ishmael I wanted to possess, though I was unsure of his feelings on the matter. I did not have to wonder long, for coming to the end of his discussion of actors and actresses who were also mistresses to men and women of power, he told me he had a surprise for me. With a sly smile, Ishmael had gone into the kitchen of his apartment. I noted the turn of his neck and the twist of his legs as he bent over and brought something from the antique-shaped refrigerator. I averted my eyes as he turned back to me. I made an effort to appear to be studying the prints he had hung on the wall to either side of the kitchen doorway. They were cheap prints, the kind one finds among the kitsch sold by street vendors. One showed a white-cheeked Victorian woman with a complexion only barely paler than the pastel dress she wore. The other showed a leering gentleman of the same era in a top hat and tails, with a shirt and gloves as white as his pants, jacket, and hat were black. Ishmael came back into the room bearing a bottle on a tray with 2 wine glasses. He attempted to uncork the bottle and had some difficulty with the corkscrew. I offered to do the task, and Ishmael demurred to my offer. I later learned he was a master of the corkscrew. He was simply using his training on me, for according to him, his work was not sex, but companionship. And, as he would point out later, companionship meant working together, so his ruse was well played. I took the bottle from him. Our fingers brushed lightly as we exchanged objects, and I felt a tingle pass through my whole being I hadn't remembered ever feeling before. He smiled as we watched each other too long. I fumbled through the act of uncorking the bottle. It was quite a mess. I somehow managed to leave a bit of cork in the bottle. I would have thought someone would have decided that particular bit of authenticity could have been avoided. I poured and splashed a bit outside the glasses. It had been a while since I had poured anything. I didn't need to eat or drink, and was thus out of practice. "It's a Lelchois Sauvignon Blanc," he said as he toweled off the outside of the glasses. He licked his fingers, and I felt jealous of his digits. He had pursued his new career with a passion I knew we had never had before. I was having trouble trying to determine whether he was into me or was playing with me. He sniffed at his glass and smiled. "It has a hint of grass and fruit." He licked the edge of the glass, and I was pulled in a dozen directions at once. His tongue on the edge of the glass was the single most erotic thing I'd ever seen. The red of the sea flashing in his face, the glint of the street in his eyes, the sound of his voice as he said, "It's dry, nice, with a crisp citrus flavor." I looked at the glass in my hand like it was a dead fish. "Why? It isn't real." "Silly," laughed Ishmael. "I don't feel like going back to the cave allegory with you again. Just taste it, feel it, swish it around. Know you are alive, and there are others who are making things worth drinking." I hesitated. Ishmael moved closer to me, inside my comfort zone, and took my hand and moved the glass to my lips. I closed my eyes and let the liquid pass over my lips and onto my tongue. I sat lost in feeling as Ishmael continued to pour, and I swallowed, and felt, and enjoyed, and remembered the wines of my past. I was transported beyond myself into a realm of memory and associations. I was like the man with the Madeline in that ancient movie about food and memory. Then the glass was empty, but the taste of wine was still there with a flavor I did not know, but knew intimately. I tasted Ishmael as he kissed me long and hard before stepping back and smiling. "Did you like it?" he asked innocently. I was lost for words. He prompted. "The wine." "Oh, yes, the wine," I said, stumbling. I didn't know what to do. Was I supposed to sweep him up in my arms and return his attentions? Was the kiss simply a test of my resolve, my self-control? What if he wanted to know whether or not I could control myself? What was I supposed to do? "The wine was good, very good. You could taste it, really taste it." Ishmael smiled his enigmatic smile and poured me another glass. This one I took without hesitation and drank with a single-minded determination to remember all there was about this thing which had defined so much of my life before I had become tangled up in the world of conspiracies and criminality. I leaned back in the comfy chair and drank. I tried not to think about the kiss and what it meant. The wine was enough for now. The scents and the flavors and the memories it evoked. I didn't notice I had gone through 2 bottles until Ishmael brought me a plate of light snacks. Caviar, oysters, strawberries and cream, and light little sponge cakes shaped like shells sat before me. It was at this moment that I knew Ishmael had found his calling. I knew the prices of each of the items before me. Their cost in sultanis was more than most people made in a week. It was then I doubted him, doubted the kiss. He sat on the couch. A small dented table held the food between us. I watched as he spread a bit of rich orange roe on a rye cracker. I wanted to argue with him. It sounded insane, but I didn't want his food or his drink or his kisses. But the food smelled incredible. I felt his eyes as he watched me. He looked scared, like he didn't know what was happening. My tongue felt thick. "What was the meaning of it? The kiss." I stammered out, my words sounding strange to my ears. "What did you do to me?" I slurred out. Ishmael smiled and finished his cracker. "I kissed you. I thought that was what you wanted." "What? You thought I wanted?" I slurred. I tried to stand up. The chair conspired to keep me grounded. "Why can't I get up?" I asked. "You're drunk," Ishmael said with a smile. 2 bottles by oneself is a bit much even in the physical." I can't be drunk," I stammered. "You can't get drunk on bits, bytes, code, whatever." "But you can, my dear Ike." Ishmael took a bit of the sponge cake from the tray and came over, sitting on the arm of my chair. He was leaning in very close, too close for comfort, or was it still not close enough? He proffered the cake to me. I shook my head. "Have a bite. It'll help soak up the alcohol." I gave up and took the shell-shaped cake from him. It was exquisite, and like the wine, it brought forth memories. While the wine had reminded me of when I had imbibed, partied, laughed, and enjoyed, the cake reminded me of all my failed relationships, all the places I had failed to read the situation correctly. I remembered Janet and her drug-fueled seduction of me at a warehouse party ages ago in college. I remembered Nona. I remembered the feel of her, the alcohol, and the evil grin of Leo as he pushed us into that elevator. I knew I should feel something for her, but all I felt was failure. My failures read the situation for what it was, my inability to know what was right and what was wrong. Not the moral sense of right and wrong, but the situational sense of right and wrong. I had been unable to grasp what would have been best, and what was worse. Being so caught up in my desire to run as far from everything as possible, I had just wanted to escape it all. How was I to know it had all been a trap from the beginning? I didn't know, I said as Ishmael moved closer to me. What didn't you know? He asked with the innocence of a child. Or was that what I wanted to believe? Did I need to believe he wasn't innocent so I could feel strong? It was a trap. It was always a trap, I whispered. Ishmael gave me another of the shell-shaped cakes, and I ate it. The moment my tongue tasted the patterns which made up the cake, I remembered the death of Frankie. The shocking explosion of Frankie's flesh and bone as it was propelled by the violence of Leo across the rooftops. Then there was my inability to do anything but hide. The promises I had made in exchange for sanctuary. Promises I would never honor. Promises there was no honor in honoring. Promises which would elevate me to new heights if I only figured out which was which. Fatima, I whispered. Why did she help? What did she have to gain? Ishmael pulled the table with the food closer. She helped because to not help would have destroyed her and all she believed in. Too bad no one else believed as she. There was sadness in his voice. She still hasn't talked to you, I asked. Ishmael was right. The little cakes did absorb the alcohol. She refuses, Ishmael answered as he layered roe on another cracker. I was only able to return the money I had cost her because her bank won't refuse a transfer, even if she would. I examined the last of the seashell cakes and prepared to take another bite. These cakes, what are they called? Ishmael looked up and smiled. Somehow he was able to put the pain he felt over Fatima behind him. Madeleines. Madeleines, I repeated as I bit into the last one and lived again through my waking in the servers at BGM. The realization I was the failed one. I was the one tied to Koenig and his mad plan. All the while my brothers were out there in the world living lives I could never live. I had always been the one who stumbled into positions and posts. I was the one with the gifts and the rewards and the accoutrement of success. I was the one with friends on the outside, but never more than a tourist in the world of rebellion. I had always had too much to lose to be a proper rebel. It was too much to find. You were the successful failure, even as you were the ultimate expression of your chosen field. Why couldn't I have been the one to escape? Why wasn't I the one who did what he wanted, what he needed? Why wasn't I free? Welcome back. I'm kind of in a hurry right now, checking the clock. I realized that I had forgotten to actually render the product, the content, the thing you listen to between when I chatter at the beginning and I chatter at the end. Yeah, I had forgotten to do that. So I had to go do that, and I'm running out of time now for getting everything going. And the dogs aren't really agreeing with me tonight because they're all upset because, like, I want to be outside shooting my bone. I want to bark at things in the neighborhood. I want to record stuff without being disturbed by dogs. Nope, not going to happen. Ruff, 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 ruff. So yeah, that's how things are going. Right now, the girls are locked in the room with me so that I can finish this. You might hear them behind me from time to time. You know, one of them's dancing the cha-cha. The other one is practicing their knife throwing. So if you hear a thunk, whack, or a cha-cha-cha, that's the dogs. Not me. I'm not cha-cha-chaing. No. That's just the dogs. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll have to see you next week after I actually see G for the first time in several days. So make sure and join us next week for the fifth and final installment. Yeah, it's the final installment. This is a 5-parter for 01-11-10, which also means we have one more episode after next week's. which will be the one and only episode of 01-11-11, which means episode 76 will be our last one. But hey, next week, we're going to find out how Love City Style works with Ike and Ishmael in episode 75 of Firmware Keylogger. Firmware Keylogger is the third book in the Firmware Pentology. That's 5 books in a series, if you want to know, just because, well, I have said it a lot, and I probably said it wrong anyway. But anyway, my pronunciation sucks. Firmware Hijacked, Proxy, and Keylogger are all available in ebook versions from our store at shop.colbyjack.net, amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords. Just search for Colbytrax. That's Colbytrax. I'm the only one. Complete audiobook versions of Firmware, Hijacked, Proxy, and Keylogger are or will be available for download sooner or later through our shop as well. That's shop.colbyjack.net. Shop as in the American shop, not the shop, which is English. It would be SHOP. The audiobooks that are on our shop.colbyjack.net are intro and outro free versions of the stories you hear every week, assembled into audio CD-length MP3s for easy burning to old media. And if you're into Trisha M. Wilson's work, which I'm not sure if you are or not, but, she's on the other half of the feed. And she's doing some great stuff, and I've read some great stuff and narrated it and stuff, and we've packaged it. And she does her stuff a little bit different. She's actually all done with her stuff before she records it, unlike myself, who runs it like a TV series. So she has her complete From the Flames is available in our little shop as well as her entire Planet of Riches series. I mean, all 3 books, what you'll be listening to in the feed for the next year and a half, is all available right now for like about $20. I'm not sure the exact cost. We actually charge $1 per hour of the length of the file. That's our pricing scheme. So if something's 3 hours, you can pay $3 for it. If something's 5 hours, you can pay $5 for it. If it's 24 hours, it can be $24. But you're getting lots of stuff. And those 2 are intro and outro free versions of the stuff that originally appeared on the podcast, all rendered and prepared in CD-length format. So you can get From the Flames, you can get the entire Planet of Riches saga, or you can get one at a time, matters how you want to do it. It's all there. Or my old stuff too. It's enough babbling about that. If you don't need any stuff but would like to support our work, drop on by Colbyjack.net and hit the pretty little donate button conveniently located somewhere on the website. You hear it every week, you can probably find it. If you'd like to support us indirectly, stick it to the man, so to speak, and you like to shop on Amazon, because they're Amazonians. That's why I do it, because the wild Amazonian women of Amazonia have gotten my monies. Just click on the Amazon ads on our site and then do your normal Amazon shopping. I think I actually put a search box so you can actually just search whatever you feel like on there too. And it'll take you to their site. It will get a portion of the monies that you spend. You don't have to give us anything. You get the stuff you want, and Amazon pays us some for sending you their way. Hey, you can get the money, you can get it. Do it. Where was I? Oh, the scripted thing just fell apart. I'd like to take this time to thank archive.org for file hosting. We couldn't do it without you. Firmware Keylogger is released under Creative Commons Non-Commercial Attribution Share Alike 3.0 license. Do what you want with it, just don't sell it, and always tell people where it came from. If you received this from a friend and want more information about Colbyjack.net, just drop on over to Colbyjack.net and select either the audio or visual side, or go to a little shop and find out what's there. The audio side carries our podcast, while the visual side carries our writtens. Where's that writings? I do mostly Twitter, and that's pretty much where I'll respond to people, because I really don't like going to Facebook, because it's so Facebooky. So if you do the tweets and want to follow me, I'm Colbytrax. That's Colbytrax. I'm also on Instagram as Colbytrax, but you'll get all those pictures if you're following me on Facebook or Twitter. Or I'm on Facebook or Google+, where you'll get all the same stuff as you get above. And I send stuff out everywhere so everybody can see it where they want to. And on those places, Facebook and Google, you can find me as Colby, first name, Trax, last name. Just look for the little green goblin. And as always, you can always reach out to me in an email as Colbytrax, Colbytrax, at Colbyjack.net. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful week. And remember to always be fabulous. Here comes the music. Night.